Good evening and other times to you, depending on when you're tuning in. This is the Miceli Show. This is our first actual recording in 2022. Got some phenomenal guests lined up over the course of the next few months. These first few episodes are just going to be me running solo. Topics within the show will be in the following format. We're going to touch on strength training, particularly the underlying elements that are the real magic to developing, I might say, superhuman strength, or at least the full potential of the strength that you'd like to achieve. We're going to talk about mental health. Going to dig deep on that subject, and hopefully it can help some people with some struggles that myself and some very close friends of mine have had to deal with over the years. We're going to jump in the entertainment world, mostly hip-hop and rap, but we can jump into other subject matter as well. Got some phenomenal artists that I've had the pleasure of working with, and going to try to help give them some exposure and talk about some ideas I have for the future. Then we're going to hit some various topics. What are various topics? Whatever. It's going to jump around week to week, and if there's any topics you want me to dive into, or some other types of guests you'd like me to get on the show after a period of time, hit me up and let me know. This show is brought to you by Fiend Radio, Squat Life, manufacturers of Wake Up and Wake Up Motherfucker, the most powerful smelling salts on the planet, and CNS Activator. It's a breakthrough supplement that I personally developed in my quest for hitting some all-time best lifts in my powerlifting career, all of which took place after the age of 40, by the way. So anyway, enough about that. The underlying foundational, I almost say secrets to obtaining superhuman strength. Everybody's heard the expression, you got to get your mind right. So the attitude, the fortitude, the desire, the effort, the total commitment you bring into something is absolutely going to have an effect on the yield that you receive. Guts. I believe the technical term for the nervous system function of your guts is the enteric nervous system, and it's tied into the mind and the heart. I believe the heart is the intrinsic nervous system, if you want to put some fancy talk to it. So I see a lot of special types of training, the fancy programs, formats that people follow trying to achieve maximum strength, and I'm sure most of them have merit. They're fine, they're good. You see people get strong all over the country with a multitude of different, formats and templates and, theories on developing that strength. But if you go back behind the scenes and you see the common factors in the human beings that achieve very, very high levels of strength, you'll see they got their guts, their heart, and their mind all dedicated to the craft. So I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. I grew up with the absolute fortunate blessing of receiving some coaching from one of the first and pioneers of the strength and conditioning world, Ernie Franz. When Ernie Franz jumped into the scene, the word strength coach didn't even exist. So we're talking about a true pioneer. And this is a man that helped athletes in a multitude of different sports achieve things that just seemed impossible. And that's the one thing Ernie preached to all of his athletes was you gotta have total commitment. You have a clear mind, focused on what your specific goal is. You gotta have heart. You gotta unleash the shackles that hold you back, whatever that happens to be. And you gotta have guts. You gotta have the ability to push through pain. You gotta have the ability, to go and do things when that would back most people down. Give you a couple anecdotal stories of what helped me build some superhuman strength over the years. As a college football player, I squatted 900 pounds, bench pressed way over 500 pounds, and power cleaned well into the 400s. Went to West Aurora High School, and it was, Aurora, Illinois is known as a birthplace of many, many great strength athletes. And there's a really badass running back that I had the opportunity to play with named James Hale. And James and I run around together on and off. James is hardcore, man. Kid should have been on a track to to be a top college running back and maybe even more, but it didn't work out for him. It wasn't his path. But he did teach me one important lesson some hot summer day. No one else is in the weight room. James says, hey, Big C, let's go get a lift in. All right, cool, let's go. Now, James probably hadn't touched weight in 2 months. And he told me, I'm going to hit a PR today. I said, James, what the hell, man? You ain't even lifted in 2 months. He said, I know, but I'm going to trick myself into thinking I have. You got to get your mind right, Miceli. You got to get your mind right. Okay, so we start lifting, and James goes off in the corner, man. He gets himself in this state of mind that at the time was new to me. And he comes over and bang, I forget what he hit, 300-pound bench or something like that, which he had really no business doing. But he had made a full commitment with his heart, mind, soul, body, guts, whatever you want to call it, where nothing was going to hold him back. And I realized at that time that was the key to unlocking your potential. Clearing out everything else and channeling in the right types of energy and beliefs that allowed you to perform at a level that you wanted to. You know, touching on the subject of beliefs, man, it's just such a powerful thing. You know, I would say that belief is one of the most powerful attributes on this planet. Even if it's an invalid belief, it holds power. So, simplifying it, if you are on a quest to get brutally strong, or at least find out how strong you can get, remember that it's not so much the type of program you're doing. It's not about fancy words and having a graduate degree level understanding of kinesiology and all this other stuff. It's about total commitment. The great powerlifting coach Ernie Lilliebridge was being interviewed once, and they kind of went through his accolades, his personal records, his son's amazing track record as strength athletes. They said, well, Ernie, can you simplify it? What does it take? And his answer was pretty simple. He said, what does it take? It takes everything. So a lot of times the real key to success, I've found, is breaking things down to the least common denominator. The very simple elements that would truly create a foundation. If you want a big squat, it's going to be tough to do it by not squatting. So within the strength culture that I was exposed to, that was how we developed big squats. That was the focus. We focused on being intense and squatting as 90% of the formula into obtaining a big squat. And the results were completely undeniable. And that bled through to the other exercises also. If you talk to some of the great Ukrainian strength athletes, sportsmen as they call it, to bench press a lot, you must bench press a lot. Meaning they didn't deviate very far from that principle of just lifting heavy weight and becoming excellent at their craft. I remember a colleague of mine showed me a study about Cuban cigar rollers and how after 20 years of rolling those cigars day after day, week after week, month after month, they were able to get better at it. So oftentimes what we perceive as plateaus don't really need to be plateaus. Good friend and brother of mine, Richie Seldal, was a phenomenal power lifter back in the 1990s, and he had a question for Ernie Franz. I forget exactly what his deadlift was at the time. Let's just say it was 760. And he went to Ernie Franz and said, Ernie, how do I get these next 40 pounds? He wanted to hit that 800-pound deadlift at 198 class. Ernie's response was, the same way you got the first 760. Boom. So I'll touch on another subject that relates to that principle of getting strong, the Bulgarian weightlifting team. Not sure how much you guys know about Olympic weightlifting, but it's one point in time, let's say the mid-70s through the 80s, the Bulgarian weightlifting team dominated Olympic weightlifting. Their records were so high and so powerful that the weightlifting organization changed the weight classes so the records become obtainable again, because most of their world records were so high and at the time seemed unobtainable that they just said, we're going to start over and start new records. So backing up, what was the Bulgarian weightlifting program? It was very simple and very crude, and it was undeniable in the results that it created. So The principle of the Bulgarian weightlifting team was simply this: we're going to go heavy and aggressive and intense as often as possible. That program draws a lot of criticism because it kind of becomes, what's what I'm looking for? A little bit Darwinistic, if you will. Not everyone can handle that type of training. And I remember the coach was being interviewed once, and he said, "My gosh, your lifters look a little beat up. You think they're going to be okay?" And he said, "Well, it is this." And he pointed to his lifters that were in there, putting icy hot in their shoulders, getting through these workouts, barely, hitting world records all had. And then he pointed outside at some guys cutting grass. Or it is that. So, again, a lot of times the magic lies in keeping things very, very simple. So, enough on that. Let's move on to mental health. And, a struggle that I've had on and off my entire life is self-sabotage. And I had a conversation with a person the end of last year. Was talking about some of the business ups and downs I've had. I've had some absolute grand slams of business. I've had some absolute epic failures. A lot of times they were kind of closely related. And basically, this person I was talking to reminded me that from outside looking in, she's like, "Well, my God, you are your own worst enemy." She said, "The only person you could possibly blame for the story you just told me is yourself." I was like, thought about it, and I was like, son of a gun, this girl is right. And, went back and reflected on my life. And, we talked about beliefs, the power of beliefs. And a little story, I was, kindergarten age. I had amassed a Matchbox car collection that was the best one of any of the kids that I knew. It was a phenomenal Matchbox car collection. It had 3 or 4 of the little suitcases full of the most rare and kick-ass Matchbox cars you could find. And I looked at it, and as I was impressed with it, for some reason I decided to go out to my grandfather's garage, open up each little suitcase, and one by one crunch these Matchbox cars in a vise and throw them in a garbage can. So I didn't really thought of that story until I was reminded of sabotaging my own good works. And it really got me thinking. It got me on a journey of understanding, what truly makes the inner mind tick, and goes back to beliefs and understanding that we can control our beliefs as it relates to ourselves is so powerful. It's almost magical. And some of these beliefs, you've got to dig deep into your own psyche. You got to go back and find out, what causes these beliefs. If I can give anybody advice over there that's ever struggled with some self-sabotage, it's this. You got to learn to treat yourself like a best friend. And I've seen that tendency over the years of many people that have a hard time treating themselves in the best light are very good at treating others with great respect and dignity and going the extra mile to help people. So that's like a guy named Alan Paris once, who was a high-level, Fortune 100 sales coach. He built phenomenal sales professionals. And I think the advice that he has for sales professionals can be advice that can help anyone out. He said the key to high performance and success in getting yourself to do things that you initially may not think is possible is turn yourself into a puppet. Become a puppet master. Disassociate yourself with any preconceived notions or any prejudices that you might have against yourself, and actually instruct yourself on what to do. The example he gave, how he did this, is he had to pitch some multi-million-dollar investment to a group of venture capitalists when he was a young man. And he was a little nervous about it. And somehow he just concocted this concept where he put himself up in the corner of the room and he completely directed himself like a robot to perform and execute in the way that he knew would launch this multi-million-dollar deal. He said he struggled with the confidence and the wherewithal on how to make this presentation until he came up with that notion. He said, there's me and me too. So he would stick me too up in the corner of the room and literally control his actions in a place where he felt safe, where his me too up in the corner of the room was protected from any potential humiliation, embarrassment, fear of failure, that sort of thing. And through kind of a practical application of disassociation, he was able to land this like multi-million-dollar deal that completely changed and shaped his career in a very positive way going forward for the future. So let's go back to my own example. Why did I take this Matchbox car collection that was absolutely cool? It was the baddest ass thing I had amassed in my life at that time. For some reason, I had these ideas planted in my head that I wasn't worthy of such a thing. I didn't deserve such a thing. Those beliefs, for whatever reason, you get fucked with as a kid, whatever that happens to be it exposure to trauma, people fucking with you, bouncing around, family problems, whatever the case is, a lot of you people out there know what I'm talking about. Some things you dealt with as a kid that kind of shake your foundation, and whether you realize it or not, impact the belief, specifically the belief you have in yourself going forward. So that set a real behavior pattern throughout my entire life. Amass something that's really good, it's noteworthy, it's wonderful, it's a great accomplishment, and then that taunting, that curse of some kind of invalid belief that was placed within manifests, comes in and just absolutely destroys my own good works. So it's taken damn near 50 years to identify that behavior pattern, and I know it's something that a lot of other people struggle with too, just based on conversations and observations I've had with people that I'm close with. And man, if just sharing that story can help anyone out, even just one person out, understand that they are worthy of accomplishing the things that they find important, and understanding that a lot of times just unlocking or removing a belief that you have that is contrary to the dream you want to achieve makes a difference in their life, then damn it, I'm glad I shared it. I've got a lot of other stories to share with that as well, but we'll get back to that at another time. So believe in yourself and be strong enough and creative enough to dive back in and have a real thorough conversation on what your self-belief is. And the story I shared about the sales coach, now he split himself into two, put one off in a corner. It was protected from any, fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of shame, fear of humiliation, whatever those things happen to be. Maybe that's a strategy that can help you out. Another strategy is just reminding that it's okay to be your own best friend. A lot of times people that are so hard on themselves are great at being great friends to other people. Turn yourself into another person and treat yourself in a way that you would treat your best friend, because you are important. No matter who you are listening to this, you can accomplish great things. You can achieve the things that are important to you. And what's holding you back? I don't know. Take a deep look into yourself and see what if there's anything that is holding you back, and replace that invalid belief with a very powerful, solid, belief that allows you to achieve the things that you'd like to do. A little bit of self-brainwashing. You may have to create a little mantra and give yourself some self-positive talk every day, over and over and over. Maybe it's building a support team around you. Sharing some of those insecurities, or sharing some of those fears, or sharing some of the self-hate that you might have with some people that you can count on. You want someone to talk to about it? Talk to me. My phone number is 360-939-7652. For decades, I've been excellent at helping other people achieve great feats, and achieve some great feats myself, but absolutely come back and attack myself just with some deep-rooted self-hate that I'm, still in the process of overcoming, and I know I will overcome it. So anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about, a good friend of mine that recently passed away, Chris Hickson. And they had a lot of questions from people all over the country. How'd Chris die? How'd Chris die? And a little background on Chris Hickson. Kid was one of the most prolific power athletes you've ever seen. I'll try to send some links up of him doing his, the basketball feats, slam dunks, 360s, tapping his head on the rim, through the leg, alley-oop, slam dunks, whatever. The kid deadlifted 820 pounds at age 18. As far as I know, I don't know any other athlete that has accomplished that strength feat at that early of an age. And having some deep conversations with Chris, it became apparent to me that as prolific and powerful as an athlete that he was, there was a part of him that really loathed himself. And the fact of the matter is, Chris liked doing things that kind of got him out of his own space. Drugs. Let's just call a spade a spade. And, Chris died on December 28th. And he did not die of a drug overdose. I think the technical cause of death was sepsis, bacteria in his blood, whatever the case is, something caused a breakdown in his vitality. And if you looked at the kid, he was like, he looked on par with, international level professional athlete. But for whatever reason, there was a part of Chris that just could not accept and love himself in the same way he accepted and loved other people. And I'm not doing a great job of sharing this with you, I realize. But damn it, if you're ever struggling with something, specifically accepting yourself, reach out to someone and just share it with them. And especially as men, we get so guarded with our own pride, our own arrogance, our own ego, that it makes us feel weak to reach out and ask for help. But man, sometimes that's the key to becoming absolutely your strongest, is just having the guts to be able to reach out and ask for help. So if you're out there, you're struggling with any kind of chemical, I don't even want to say dependence, man. If you have that need to get out of your body and run away from yourself, it's okay to love yourself, man. It's okay to accept whatever shortcomings you have. It's okay to understand that no human being is perfect, and that includes you. And, I look back and the relationship that Chris and I had and, question myself. Could I have been a better friend to him? Could I have helped him at a greater level? Well, yeah, I absolutely could have. But it's a fine line between, being a good friend and being pushy and what to say and what not to say. But when you suffer the loss of a close friend and you see him, falling down like that, I guess, I could have done a better job of reaching out. I could have done a better job of digging through and trying to help him out. But if sharing this message can help one other person, then I just hope and pray that Chris's passing is not in vain. I'll share more about that. More about that in future episodes. So let me move on to the entertainment world. Expression. Entertainment and athletics, both about expression. And I've had a chance to work with some phenomenal rap artists, and I'm going to give a couple shout outs each week as we go. And the artist I'd like to bring some attention to tonight is a man out of Atlanta, Georgia named Flight Risk Clevo. I'm jumping subjects quickly, but it's kind of how my brain works. If you're listening to this show, go YouTube Flight Risk Clevo. If you like old school rap sound and rap beats, you will not be disappointed. Another artist I'd like to bring some attention to is a young man out of Chicago, Rezzy Rez. If you want to get a taste of his music, just go to YouTube and punch in Rezzy Rez with Z's, R-E-Z-Z-Y, R-E-Z, and start with the song Never Scared. It's a nice jam he's got, and you'll see a ton of videos he has out there. And at some point before 2022 ends, we're going to do a music festival. It's going to be a little bit different, man. We're going to tie in We're going to tie in music, dancing, fitness, self-improvement and self-empowerment, all the one event that's unique. I've kind of got a vision of Cirque du Soleil style presentation that ties in elements of music, entertainment, dancing, fitness, strength training, and just being the best human being you can be in kind of a kaleidoscope hodgepodge of something that no one else has ever put together before. So stay tuned for that. When I figure out how to share some links, I'll do that. I'm pretty, not technically advanced enough to even know how to do that at this point. So again, Flight Risk Clevo. Check him out on YouTube. Rezzy Rez, R-E-Z-Z-Y, R-E-Z. Start with the song Never Scared. See what you think. Give them a like, a share. Share the music with some people that you think might like it. Okay, various topics. Raising young men. Very important topic. With modern society, the old school lessons that a lot of guys that grew up, up until, probably in the 90s, just kind of seem to evaporate, dissipate, go away. What's it like to put a hard day of labor in? What's it like to change a tire? What's it like to mow a lawn, shovel some snow? What's it like to, push yourself past an energy threshold that feels very uncomfortable? So I've had a couple people ask me about what my take on raising strong young men, and that's, one thing I think I've done a pretty good job of. Rather than, if you look at my oldest son, he's kind of a throwback. He's probably my proudest accomplishment as a human being on this earth so far, and he was a firstborn on both sides of the family. And I noticed, nothing against any of other family members, but the firstborn kid tends to be a little extra spoiled, a few extra gifts at Christmas, more attention. They're kind of like, King Farouk, coming up and treated as a golden child. And I was like, well, this kid is special, and I really do love him, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let this young man get spoiled by all this extra attention. So, with my background as an athlete performance coach, kind of took those same principles and was very strategic with the lessons that I taught him, and the concept of earning, the concept of reaping what you sow, and the concept of understanding that you can achieve things that at first seem hard to achieve. So what are the factors that make a man thrive in society in general? Well, education is important, and I don't necessarily mean going to school and regurgitating information given to you from a textbook, but truly learning some things, digging deep into something mechanical, something environmental, just some basic survival elements, hunting, fishing, camping, things of that nature. Understanding that you can achieve more than you initially think you can. For example, my son wanted to play football in 4th grade, and he's by the way, he's a very high-level college football player as we speak. Kind of a late bloomer, kind of a bigger kid, and I didn't really want him out there playing football at that age unless I knew he was completely, fully committed to doing it. So I set a challenge up. I said, James, you can play football in the tackle league if by whatever the date was, let's just say July 15th, you can do 10 pull-ups and you can run a 10-yard dash in 1.9 seconds, whatever the case was. Both of which he was nowhere near accomplishing at the time. I don't think he could do one pull-up when I set this goal up for him. So I just kind of let him do as he pleased. And sure enough, one day he came knocking on the door and said, "Hey, Dad, come here and watch this." Walked outside, jumped up on the tree, bang, knocked out 10 pull-ups. I said, wow, I was absolutely floored. I don't know if he can do 10 pull-ups today, but he figured a way in going into 4th grade tackle football to do 10 pull-ups. So sometimes there's a sense of urgency, kind of figure things out, and that's a good lesson to remember for everybody. So I went over there, took him 3 or 4 times, bang, he hit his goal time in his 10-yard sprint. I said, well, let's go sign you up. fast forward, I reminded him that, son, right now, football is going to be, as a late bloomer, football is going to be a challenge for you. It's not going to be easy. But if you put your mind to it and you really work hard and you take that same attitude that you used to hit those 10 pull-ups and that 1.9 second 10-yard dash time, and you train like that all the time, you're eventually going to be good. And right now he's sitting in a position where he could very well be a pro prospect in one of the top college football conferences in the world. All right. Well, gentlemen, ladies, aliens, whoever's listening, thank you so much for your time. A little bit of a ramble fest, but we're going to get better at this as we go. Like I said, got a lot of phenomenal guests we're going to bring on over the course of this year. And my phone number, if you want to reach out, send a text, give me a call. If you want further information on any of the subjects that I talked about, if you've got ideas for the show, my phone number is 360-939-7652. God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.